violation of international, we can debate this or that fact that's not yet accepted and agreed, but there are gross violations of international law which are proclaimed openly and publicly and presented with self-praise. So, for example, suppose that when President Obama, or any Western, any American diplomat or journalist, says that with regard to Iran, all options are open, as is said constantly, what does that mean? All options are open means force is open, means nuclear attack is open. Those of you who may recall an obscure document called the UN Charter might remember Article 2, which bans the threat or use of force in international affairs. The threat or use of force. They're all violating international law openly and proudly. And the same is true when they support criminal organizations. The U.S. and Israel don't deny, they kind of nod their heads about, say, the assassination of Iranian scientists or the cyber attacks on Iran, which are openly acknowledged and praised. All violations of international law. What about Iranian nuclear weapons? Well, you know, there are ways to approach the question of nuclear weapons. In fact, some of you may recall, who have a long memory, back as far as 2010, when an agreement was reached between Turkey, Brazil, and Iran to settle the issue of Iranian nuclear developments. The agreement was that Iran would transfer to Turkey its low enriched uranium, so there'd be no issue of developing nuclear weapons, and in return, the Western powers would provide Iran with the isotopes it needs for its medical research. As soon as that agreement was reached, it was bitterly denounced by the U.S. government, by President Obama, by Congress, by the media. How dare they do this? The government of Brazil was kind of irritated, and its foreign minister released a letter from President Obama to President Lula of Brazil proposing exactly this. Presumably he proposed it because he thought that Iran would never agree. Well, Iran did agree, so then came the attack, then come all kind of pretexts. That's 2010. Let's go on to 2012, okay? A little more recent, maybe easier to remember. In December 2012, there was supposed to be a conference in Helsinki, organized under UN auspices, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, organized a conference in Helsinki to take steps towards establishing a nuclear weapons-free zone in the Middle East. Actually, a zone free of weapons of mass destruction, but crucially, nuclear weapons. That was December 2012, international conference. Everyone waited to see. Israel said they would not attend. Next question, what will Iran say? Iran said they would attend with no conditions. A couple of days later, the United States canceled the conference. Pretexts, this is that reason, but it didn't take place. Virtually no mention of this in the U.S. media. Do a study. Tells you something about the media. Hardly a mention. Well, that's another opportunity. Lots of ways of dealing with the nuclear weapons problem, and of course recall that there is one state in the region which is armed to the teeth with nuclear weapons, hundreds of nuclear weapons, the state of Israel, with U.S. support. So there are things that can be done about the nuclear weapons issue if anyone's serious about it. But as far as your point about violating international law is concerned, all the time, openly and proudly.